Welcome to SF Commercial Property Conversations with Bruce Bean, where Bay Area investments meet expert insights. Get ready to unlock the strategies of commercial real estate success.
So today we have Markus Shayeb with us, and Markus and I don't know that we ever did. We never actually worked in the same office, but we were always in the same kind of area of work in San Francisco and the peninsula and so forth. So Markus, it's great to have you. I would love to hear your story of how you were born in Germany, you went to the Caribbean, and then all of a sudden you're in California. So let us know how that all came
Bruce,
together.
I appreciate the invite. Yes, we worked in downtown San Francisco, probably in close proximity for quite some time, which brings back a lot of names, memories, and good lunches at Taddage, I'm sure that you remember.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so I started my journey a long time ago as a kid in Germany. That's where I grew up. I was born in Egypt, but moved to Germany at the age of 4. Went to school there and graduated with a hotel management degree. And as soon as I graduated, I left and headed west. And that brought in a couple of stops: Bermuda, Boston, and the Cayman Islands, and then eventually ended up in Los Angeles. Most of it actually was Laguna Beach. But after looking around in the hotel industry for career opportunities, I realized that the pay just wasn't as good as I was used to living in tax-free islands like the Cayman Islands. And so I switched my focus and entered commercial real estate. And with the guidance of a few mentors that I had, fortunate enough to have had in the early part of my career, I started focusing on leasing, tenant representation. And that is now obviously also maturing into investment sales.
So now you're at TRI, and
Sure.
you've kind of gone through the full cycle in San Francisco from all the ups and downs. Right now, we're kind of coming out of a slow period, particularly in the office world, but it sounds like things are turning around a little bit.
Yeah, we certainly see an increase in activity, quite substantial. Almost mirrors the activity of 2019. Now, don't get me wrong, we got a big hill to climb. We've never seen a hill that big as long as I've been in the business. Even following the dot-com crisis and the financial crisis in 2008, vacancy rates were somewhere in the high teens. They're now in the low 30s. So we will have to see a good amount of creativity. AI alone is not going to save the city, even though it is a fantastic starting point and a good breathing ground for more and more companies to settle here and tap into the talent. And also, we saw it during the dot-com period. People want to be around people that are in the same business. So we see that. And we've seen a turnaround also from some other companies that went remote in 2021 and then now decided to come back, reopen their offices, and give it another try.
Well, it seems like traffic has certainly picked up in the city, and maybe in part that is because it's not quite bad enough yet to where everybody's decided they need to get into mass transit again. But
Not yet, and I think it's maybe, I don't think the pandemic is any more the reason, but it was certainly the cause for many people to start shying away from public transit. And in addition to that, unfortunately, the prior city administration, there wasn't too much attention given to the BART stations and the surroundings of the BART station. So I completely understand when people are sitting on a train for 30, 40 minutes, get into downtown, exit the station, and find what they found a few years ago and being yelled at, that wasn't exactly a very inviting environment. So I think people gravitated towards the car. The pandemic had parts to do with that. But if you look at the BART statistics these days, I think they've seen something like a 10 or 11% increase in ridership for midday traffic since last year. So that is encouraging.
so it also seems like the new mayor is kind of turning things around a little bit.
Yeah. I think he's had an incredible impact in so many areas, cleaning up public safety, cleaning up the city. And what he's done recently in the permitting department and permitting process is really turning San Francisco into more of a business-friendly environment. I think I read articles before where it took a small business owner 6 or 7 separate agencies, and by the time they were done with all fees, they were $24,000 out of pocket, versus some other cities where they were $9,000 or $10,000. So I
Right.
think he's had an incredible impact. He is very driven. I like his approach of not seeing San Francisco as a stepping stone for a political career to advance himself.
Mm.
I think he really sees it as his donation to the city of giving his time and giving his very best to make the city a better place. And he surrounded himself with some pretty incredible people too that come from the private sector. And I think that makes a big difference.
So you have some very interesting statistics about what pre-COVID, only like 8% were quote remote, and now that has turned into a much higher number, obviously. But
Yeah.
even that number is hopefully starting to crawl
It
back.
is coming down. I think there is, there's much debate about office utilization versus foot traffic, but people forget to compare it to utilization in 2019.
Mm.
Offices were never 100% utilized, maybe
Mm.
60%, and we're slowly approaching that because flexibility existed before. So I think the notion when people say we have a 5-day RTO, I think what they're saying is we want to go back to pre-COVID conditions. And pre-COVID conditions had flexibility for a lot of people. Like I mentioned to you earlier, I try to get 1 day a week where I stay at home or go home earlier and get some other things done. I don't recall anybody ever getting fired because they have a doctor's appointment or,
Mm.
do something else. So 100% office utilization never existed. But Placer AI is actually a good source. I think they go by cell phone data and information to look at foot traffic, and that has increased again, I think, since July last year to July this year by 10% nationally. They recorded that New York was at some point at 102% of pre-COVID.
Oh, wow.
So I think, and then you look at other cities, Dallas and some others that are market leaders. San Francisco, unfortunately, had been in the last position for quite some time.
Mm.
I think just last month or the month before, we finally slipped into the second to last.
Oh,
And
wow.
that is partially driven, I think, that a lot of our industry was also tech related, which makes remote work capable a little bit more than some other positions.
Well, are you seeing any signs of retail coming back in downtown?
We see the pop-up shops. We see people trying things out, and I think a good number of landlords are smart enough to say, I'm not going to tie you into a 5-year lease. Most of them, of course, use pre-existing infrastructure, restaurants that might have left or sandwich places, so they don't have to go all in with a 10-year lease and invest $1 million. They can get it done for far less. And then as that propels, I can see that people feel more comfortable signing longer term leases.
Yeah. So hopefully things are coming back. I mean, nationwide, retail is doing very well. I mean,
Yeah.
some of the big boxes aren't doing all that great, but smaller groups are certainly doing great. I know down here in the peninsula where I work, retail has gone crazy. So it's very interesting to me to see that San Francisco's, well, it's all driven by what market you have. And if you don't have a good office market, it's hard to maintain the retail down there.
Yeah, I think we had something like 250, 270,000 commuters into the city pre-COVID every day.
Mm.
If half of that goes away, that has a huge impact.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And I'm also glad that their mayor is following through on the RTO for government employees. The state is doing 4 days, the city is doing 4 days. And it's interesting how, if any company had announced a 4-day work week, not work week, don't get me wrong, I don't want to say these people don't work on Fridays. But if they had been offered a 4-day in office schedule prior to COVID, they would have been in Time Magazine for being innovative and being, the best company to work for.
right,
Those would
right.
have been there. And now they're evils. They're the evils of the world, which is, it's an interesting comparison. I hear a lot about the so-called horse and buggy comparison with,
Uh,
pre-COVID and now. But if you look at it, I mean, I only speak for myself. I use the same exact technology tools that I did in 2019. I got email, I got Zoom, I got Teams, we got the cloud. And I think most companies and most people still operate within that realm. There's some more collaboration tools out there, but I don't think they're applied to the vast majority of employers. So I
right.
don't see this as a technological revolution. This is an attitude revolution. more than anything else.
Well, just out of curiosity, are you starting to use AI at all?
I'm starting slowly. Yeah, I tell you, I have to discipline myself and really start diving into it.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm fortunate enough to work with a couple of younger
Mm,
folks around us, which I also think is a great testament to you and I are used to multi-generational offices. And as
right.
much as young people can learn from the older generations or the generation before them and the more experienced workers, it's the other way around just as much. I mean, we can learn from them, and every now and then they turn around and say, "How come you don't do it differently?" And we go, "Well, we didn't know we could." So I think all of that hopefully continues. AI, unfortunately, I read a lot, and so also with remote and hybrid work, unfortunately, doesn't offer too many positions for entry level.
Oh, yeah.
So when you're looking at graduates or people that want to change careers or people that want to get into an industry, unfortunately, the positions are very limited, which I think will sadly have a bit of a negative long-term effect. Because where's the next generation of workers coming from in each industry? If you're saying at this point we don't need entry level, well, where's the middle management coming from in the future and senior management? If you're cutting out 5 or 10 years of entry level positions.
Well, you're kind of deep into that world given your situation. You've got some family members in that age group.
Oh, absolutely. And I think my sons, I have 4 sons, all of them are very, how would I call it, socially connected.
Mm.
So they enjoy the relationships with friends. It's funny, I think it was in July 2020, I posted on LinkedIn and I looked back at the conversation about the office and I said, I see the office as being the schoolyard to our kids.
Oh,
And if you look at education these days, and we sadly learned that with the school shutdowns, education is definitely important, and in-person education works better. But let's not forget all the things that happen in the schoolyards, the social interaction, learning
right.
how to resolve conflicts, finding their ways. I think the office is the same exact.
Yeah.
We still interact with people. I've read comments about, oh, we don't need forced socialization. I disagree because I think that will actually get us to understand other people more that we normally wouldn't associate with.
Well,
Everybody tends to gravitate towards relationships with people that are almost like kind and like mind.
oh, absolutely. And there obviously is a generation or a group of folks that came through the pandemic and they just never kind of got reintegrated or they went through that period where they weren't integrated and then to come back in has just not happened. So
Not
it's
yet. I've read articles where they talk about some companies hiring consultants to help younger people learn how to interact in the workplace, which is foreign to us because
right.
it just came naturally.
Yeah.
And I just think some people are losing out. The intention here is to so-called make life better for some people. I would like to see, well, we will see in 10 years from now what the side effects are of too much isolation. I couldn't imagine, or my kids couldn't imagine finishing up, going to college, get a degree, and then their couch is waiting for them with a laptop.
Right, right.
I,
Yeah.
I couldn't possibly imagine that. I mean,
Yeah.
the whole listen, like I said, I've been a bit of a nomad in my life, and I look back on the 4 or 5 really strongest relationships I have that continued for decades. Every single one of them originated in the workplace. And
Well, that's
when
it.
people say digital replaces that's like telling your kid you got tons of friends because you got 500 likes on Facebook. I just don't think that compares.
No, it's not the same at all. So, looping back for a second here, it sounds like what's your thoughts has since pre-pandemic or even 5, 10 years ago, has your real estate technology changed that much?
Yes, we've certainly seen tools that make our life a whole lot easier.
Hmm.
You and I remember, I remember the retired guy that worked at Cushman Wakefield and came by with his bag full of flyers once a month or so, and we had our binders sitting on our desk, putting those flyers in, so we had them organized, and we had the microfiche and all that. I mean,
Like
the
that.
internet and the tools that are available to us today are absolutely incredible. And I think if you look at the new technology in real estate, it's a dramatic change. I also think that brokerage has changed. And I think we've always felt that in San Francisco, we were kind of on the forefront in adapting technology.
Right.
But it's always, as long as I remember, San Francisco has been an incredibly competitive marketplace for brokerage. So as far as I remember, is every January 1st, you get up and you go, what can I do different this year that separates me from the pack? And so innovation was always part of it. And also the transformation of what I thought was just the old time brokerage to a little bit more of a consulting model, value driven, value add. And so I think we still have a good number of changes ahead, I believe. And it's going to be interesting to be part of that.
Yeah. Well, I think AI is going to play a role in that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. So, okay. So retail's doing okay, coming back a little bit. Office is coming back. Are you involved at all in industrial or multifamily?
Yeah, we look at multifamily as well, mostly out of our East Bay office, but that has been active. San Francisco and many other cities have been given a mandate by the state that they have to add housing. San Francisco is, I think it's 83,000 units in the next 10 years. So there is quite a push to do that. So I think multifamily is still holding up strong. You look at the increased rental rates over the last couple of years. Vacancy is still awfully tight. Cap rates are not as low as we've seen them before, but that is mostly interest rate driven. You can't buy a 4 cap when you have a 6% interest rate. I mean, that's throwing good money after bad.
Right, exactly. You're going to be
So I think as soon as we see a significant change in the interest rate structures, we're going to see that market again, valuations drive up. I mean, we all look back and say, oh, I wish I would have bought 30 years ago, 20 years ago. And I'm pretty sure in 20 years from now, we're going to look at San Francisco and said, I wish I would have bought some apartments when we had that conversation. So I think San Francisco for multifamily is an extremely safe marketplace. Geographically, it's limited. All you can do is really go up. You can't go to either side. We are going up in some cases. We see more and more structures being proposed that would have never been approved 15 years ago.
Right.
And I think adding almost any kind of housing unit, when we have the conversation about affordable versus luxury, I always feel that the marketplace that is well saturated will drive the prices down. As long as you have a large inventory, there will be affordable housing.
Yeah. Well, there's some conversion going on in San Francisco of office buildings to residential. I know down here in the peninsula, they just announced that GoPro, the campus that where GoPro is now going to convert to residential. So that'll be an interesting. I think they're actually going to tear
I
down.
think we're seeing that with some of the older shopping malls as well, because one thing shopping malls always had is a ton of land.
Right.
So when you look at the Sears stores going out, or any of the old big boxes that are going out, those shopping malls can easily condense down to 50% and open up the rest of the real estate for residential conversion. And that would be ground up construction. The conversion in San Francisco, I don't know if you recall, top of my head, maybe I can think of 4 or 5 buildings that have successfully converted from office to residential.
Right.
And it's just the cost is still an issue.
Oh yeah.
You can't convert a building you're buying for $300 a foot into residential and hope to get a $1,400 per square foot exit point in this market. So it'd be interesting. Plus, I think there is a limit to what can be done. People that lived in downtown San Francisco worked in downtown San Francisco. Most of them. They didn't move there because of schools or infrastructure or the parks or anything else.
Yeah.
And you probably remember from 20, 30 years ago, it was some people that sold out of tech companies that wanted a little 1 or 2 bedroom in the city. Right. So it's easier for social activities and attending functions. And I think what we're going to see on the expansion as far as housing is concerned, it's still probably going to be most attractive to professionals, younger professionals like we've always seen, that wanted to be close to work.
Right.
And that's why the remote work factor comes in as well. If you're working remotely, you could be sitting on a farm in Idaho.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you're 2 blocks from your work or not.
Although I've heard, and I think maybe you can confirm this, that the people out there in Montana or Idaho or South Dakota are now realizing, oh, maybe I do want to be back in the city. It wasn't, it was a great idea initially, but now it's kind of like, ooh, this
Well, the
winter.
grass, the grass is always greener on the other side. And I
Yeah,
think everything has a price.
yeah.
There are some great benefits of living on, outside of big cities. But then when you're 22, like I said, if you're a graduate and you're coming out of college and you get a new job, from what I remember, maybe I'm nostalgic about it, moving to a big city and seeing all the social activities, the bands playing, the rock concerts,
Oh, yeah.
the bars, the connection points, all these things that don't exist outside of big cities. That's where people travel to. The variety in foods. I mean, you look at New York City, you look at San Francisco, if people ask you if you want to go for Indian food, the question is going to be, do you prefer the Southern cuisine or the Northern cuisine? So you have all these
Yeah.
varieties that we are used to and enjoy. And with it comes culture. So when you're raising children, I think it is important to have them in some sort of environment where they're exposed to different cultures, exposed to different foods.
Yeah.
I've always been a foodie since I've been in the hotel industry. And to me, like cooking with friends is a great evening.
Oh,
If I
yeah.
walk into a friend's house and he says, dinner's ready, sit down, I go like, hey, we're missing out on the whole party.
Right, right.
So I think culturally speaking, there's some great benefits. As you have children, you obviously want to be a little bit more outside. School districts are important, things of that nature. But I think if you're coming out of college, oh my God, I mean, New York City wasn't there like a saying that if you haven't lived in New York City when you're young, you hadn't lived at all, or I heard
Yeah.
something
Well,
along those
I kind of,
lines.
yeah.
But
I,
some of those large cities can be very attractive, and making, like we did, friendships with people that might last decades, professionally and socially.
so TRI, are you touching at all on the industrial side these days? What's happening there?
Yes, we still do. We actually have at least 5 people that focus on industrial only, and it's still a very active market. The vacancy rate has gone a little bit up, uh, you know, but generally speaking, especially in San Francisco, I mean, industrial buildings are still trading for $300-400 a square foot.
Yeah.
When you looked at what I think Amazon was trying to build down on 7th Street, and they were talking about an $800 square foot price and 4 stories tall. So industrial is still very active.
Yeah.
The robotics industry is going to drive some of that we see here on the innovation side. So is AI technology that drives robotics. So I think we still see a very, very healthy industrial market.
Well, there have been a few fire sales in San Francisco, particularly in the office market, and those are those starting to go away now?
They're ticking up a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Like I
Oh,
said, it's a two-edged sword. On one side, we see a lot of optimism. On the other side, you got to educate people and say it's not going to happen overnight. So you
yeah.
got to have patient money to enter that arena.
Mm,
And yeah, I think when we saw a couple of examples like 350 California Street, 550 California Street sold at prices that I don't think we're going to see for quite a while again.
right.
Those guys caught them at an early stage. They took bigger risks. And I don't think, despite all the, you know, loan defaults and things that we're still seeing going on, the vast majority of them are being restructured.
Well, this is a fascinating discussion. I think we're going to have to reconvene here in 3 to 6 months and see what, if anything, has changed. Come the new year, who knows what's going to be out there? But I'd love to talk to you again in the very near future.
I would
Where
love to, yeah.
where can people get a hold of you, Marcus?
Well, I'm the managing director at the TRI Commercial San Francisco office. My email is marcus.shayeb, Sajyeb, at tricommercial.com. And that's the easiest way to reach me.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
great talking to you. Great seeing you again.
Good seeing you again. Yeah,
We're
definitely.
forward to maybe we can actually do a transaction here.
Sounds great.
All right.
Thanks, Bruce.
Talk to you soon.
That's a wrap on today's journey through the SF commercial real estate scene. Ready to share your story? Visit sfcommercialconversations.com/guest. Your insights could lead the next conversation.